Welcome to this meeting of the Economy and Growth Select Committee. I'm Councillor Edward Siddle, the Chair of the Committee. I'd like to inform everyone present that this meeting is being broadcast live to the internet via the Council's website and is capable of repeat viewings. The images and sound recordings may be used for training purposes within the Council. In order to ensure that the meeting is managed effectively, can everyone please keep to the following guidelines? Council should only use the raise hand function to request to speak and only should speak when invited to do so by the chair. Please switch off your cameras and microphones when not speaking. Remember to set your mobile phone to silent for the duration of the meeting. Any views expressed by any speakers of the council in this meeting are the speaker's own, and they do not necessarily reflect the views of the council. Please can council be aware that the webcast will continue to stream live for 20 seconds after the close of the meeting. This is due to the delay in the transmitting live. Now confirm the names of the remaining committee members. It's Councillor Nev Clark, Councillor Dan Capper, Councillor Simon Evans, Councillor Paige Hacking, Councillor Ian Huddleston, Councillor Kev Kirkham, Councillor Chris Payne, Councillor got wrong. I've got an old list up, sorry. Councillor Peter Ross, Councillor Jill Scott and Councillor Kath Sizeland. Thank you. So I'm going to move on to agenda item number 1. And is there any apologies for absence?
We have apologies from Councillors Scott and Clark.
That's great, thank you. And have we got any disclosable
Sorry, Chair. Apologies from Councillor Kevin Kirkham.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Do we receive any disclosable interest on any matters before the committee? Do we have any of them? Take that as a no. Any matters referred to the committee under the calling procedure?
No, Chair.
That's great, thank you. And do we? We've got the to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Has anyone got any comments on the minutes from the previous meeting before I move to get someone to propose in a second? So it's fastest finger first now. Who would like to approve the minutes of the meeting? That's Councillor Clark. And don't all shout at once. Councillor Hacking, thank you. So select committee work programme, that we had a discussion about that at corporate, and there's a meeting arranged for the committee chairs and vice chairs and group leaders to meet up. And was that the what date did we say again, Rachel? Is it 27th?
It's 24th of August, Chair.
24th of August. So that's all booked in there. So we're going to meet on the 24th and go through. And then what we can do is, once we've done that and we've decided on what we want to put out, well, can we put is it worth putting in an email to all councillors on select committees as to what we've discussed, and then obviously going forward we'll discuss it in more detail at the next select committee, because unless anyone's got any ideas or things that they desperately want on there, I think we could probably bring it back to the 24th of September meeting, and then we can go from there. Take everyone's happy with that. The silence, I would say, brilliant. Lorraine, sorry.
Just a couple of ideas really for the programming meeting. We come to the end of UK Shared Prosperity Fund. We've done a lot of the work, but that we got the monitoring return to submit in October time, so it might be worth putting UK Shared Prosperity Fund to do a kind of looking back outturn position on that towards the end of the year. And then the other one,
26th of November.
Thinking probably November, because we need to do the monitoring return to understand the outputs. And then the other item would probably be the locality action plans and the outcome of that activity, which is another one to probably around the similar time really. So they're kind of two big items really that are worth just us bringing something back to the to this committee.
Do you put those on the November, pencil them in for that, if that's okay? Andrew, do you want to come in and then Nev?
Yeah, just to confirm with Lorraine, I mean, what we intend doing at the programming group is reflect on the legacy plan commitments, of which those are 2 commitments in the legacy plan, actually, to be fair. So we'll make sure we pick that up, and then what we need to do at the programming committee and with yourself and the vice chair is to confirm the sort of the order of those at the various meetings that we've got scheduled. There needs to be a focus, chair, because we've got 20 months left to go. In effect, so we, you can less than 10 meetings, so we want very much to focus on the things that were in the legacy plan.
And then, as it was discussed at corporate, it's going to be a case of some of the meetings may end up having sort of like group meetings with the new authority to try and get them involved as well, potentially. Or did you not mention that? Was it about, will they be meeting with us on a more higher level basis? I don't know.
Not sure about that, chair, but yeah, I do understand the point that's being made, because actually, I suppose the point is, as we've explained before, and Anthony's explained a few times, once we get post the shadow elections in May 27, when we have new authorities in shadow existence, there'll be obligations for them to be involved in some circumstances in our decision making through something that's called Section 24. So by default, there'll have to be engagement with the emerging new council. So,
great, thank you, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, I know there's no meat on the bones to this yet, but the new PM's obviously started talking about helping businesses that offer a positive social impact to the high street communities, and like almost discriminating against those that offer a negative social impact. So whether we can talk to civil servants really about what that might be and when we might think that might be implemented, it's something that'd be good to be able to try and finish something off with before we disappear down the rabbit hole.
Interesting, that one. Would that come through the LGA, or that come through like the
TikTok, I think, wasn't it? So, yeah, the PM came from his own mouth. I saw
no,
it.
But I meant how would I wonder how the information will come through. Probably come through.
Good question. Yeah, I would have thought maybe through Andrew Gwynn. I don't know.
Andrew Gwynn's not an MP anymore, is he?
Oh, not Andrew. No, the new business secretary.
Johnny Reynolds.
That's the one. Sorry, that's the one. Sorry. Yeah.
Andrew.
Yeah, I'll confirm. We'll reflect on that, Councillor Clark, and think about that for the plan.
Great. So, like I said, we just note the work programme, and what I think we'll do is, I think in September we'll go through and maybe do a little bit of more of an overview of what we discussed in the August meeting. So I think that'd be good. I think it's probably good for all the committees that we do that. So that's what we'll do in September. So growth strategy. Damien, did you want to come in the growth strategy, and then Lorraine will come?
I think this is just a continuation of updates. So we obviously refreshed the growth strategy, focused it particularly part of the legacy period. There's a lot of outputs and very measurable things. So this is part of the series of updates. So I think if Lorraine goes through it, and if there are any questions that I can come in with officers, happy to do so, Chair. Muted, Chair.
You're on mute, Chair.
Sorry, yeah, I left the camera on and forgot to mute you. So Lorraine, did you want to go ahead with your introduction on the growth strategy and the regular item we have? Thank
you, Chair. So each time we do a bit of an update on projects that we've been working on, and as Andrew had said at the outset, and many of these feature in the legacy plans that are priorities for us to move forward before April 2028. So I don't intend to go through it line by line and every individual project listed and item, but just to highlight some of the key things that obviously have been happening since we last met a couple of months ago. I suppose one of the key ones being revitalising Buxton. So that's LP22 in blue on the sheet on page 2. So the planning application was lodged and the public consultation period ended on Thursday last week. And obviously the committee meeting will need to be determined at some point once the planning officers had time to go through and review all of the feedback through the formal consultation, the public feedback, as well as statutory consultees. So that's on there in the link to the planning application as well. There's a number of items on there that are covered through the local plan steering group. So again, obviously our colleagues in planning have regular meetings on that in terms of reviewing documents, etc., linked to the review of the local plan. So for example, any kind of procurements that have taken place or documents that are being updated, such as the Helner and the internal work that's been done on the Greenbelt review. And then we touched on and mentioned in the introduction around the work programme, the locality action plans. So there's a lot of work taking place currently on that, and there were a number of sessions that were held in June for engagement sessions, if you like, with local community as well as with businesses. So all of that data and information's being collated and being used, and with the support of officers in the Regen team and other colleagues across the council to support the pulling together of some of that information and review of that, which is why, Chair, we'd suggested bringing something back in the autumn once that activity has taken place. And we've got the benefit of identifying some priorities, etc. And there's some kind of draft reports that could potentially be shared at that point. A couple of other things. I'm just trying to think through the list. So we've got a lot of the activities on here, like linked to town centre master plans, etc., are all being picked up, Chair, through the locality action plans. So again, that can be picked up at a future meeting. I mentioned UK Shared Prosperity Fund. All of the money's been committed, and the reporting and the final report due to government will be submitted in the autumn, and that will, as part of that exercise, we'll be able to pull together a list of outputs and outcomes that we've delivered globally through that funding over the last 3 years, which has made quite a big difference to some of our local communities in terms of how we've been able to support and fund a range of different activity across the kind of regeneration, leisure, and supporting local businesses as well as grassroots organisations. Town and Villages Fund, again, is continuing. We've got opportunities through that and have review applications to that on a quarterly basis, and make decisions through the portfolio holder in terms of projects to support. And then moving on to the items in purple on page 6. So the team have been looking at and supporting other colleagues across the council in looking at some of the empty properties that we have in our towns, and doing a bit of an audit on those, which the team have been out inspecting some of those and supporting colleagues across revenues and benefits, etc., to understand that, and also in the view really of supporting our town centres in whether there's ways we can bring those properties or anything we can do to help them back into use, as a key priority for many of our local communities. And then Granby Road B, as you're aware, Chair and members of the committee, that the council's developing designs for a council housing on the Granby site, and that's progressing. Equally, Buxton Town Hall, the council's in discussions with local group who were interested in exploring options for the town hall, as well as speaking to any developers who were interested in placing or interested in registering their interest for in the building. And then we move on to some of the items in green. So tourism partnership forum and other activities around that. One thing to mention is the Tour de France FAM, which will be happening. We hadn't actually put that on here, which I don't think we should have mentioned it, but it's this, in fact, it will be, is it the 30th or the 31st of July next year? But it's when it comes through the High Peak, we're on day 2 of the cycle race, and it comes from Manchester through to Sheffield. But predominantly the vast majority of that route will be through the High Peak. So we're involved in some working groups with the county. We understand there is some funding that's coming through EMCA to support basically the activities on that day, because there will be an awful lot of preparation required around barriers in various places, portaloos, etc., marshalling. So there'll be an awful lot of activity. The road closures, I understand, will be in place for 6 to 8 hours. So it will be, there'll be a lot of costs that will need to be done from now, really, in the run up to that event, and much of that will be with our local businesses and tourism businesses as well, in terms of preparing them for the event. It's on a Saturday, so again, is something that we'll need to be heavily involved in making sure that we're prepared. Homes England, moving on to DY5, we've opened up dialogue with various different elements of Homes England. We've talked before about looking to Homes England for financial or funding, grant funding towards revitalising Buxton, but we've also opened a dialogue, excuse me, Chair, my throat's been bad today. We've also opened dialogue with Homes England around the Granby Road B site, Cunningdale, in terms of the process to seek affordable housing grant on that site. So we've got dialogue with 2 different teams that have 2 different funding streams, and a process in place to access that funding. And then I think that probably covers most of the, moving to the last page, again, reference to activity with Norse on Granby Road B in Victoria Hall, and the investment prospectus, finally, Chair, where we've got a High Peak investment prospectus which highlights some of our key sites, but effectively we work with, in terms of any inward investment inquiries, if we've got any suitable sites that come in through the county inquiries, then we contribute to those in terms of whether any of our available sites will be suitable for any kind of business relocations, etc. So I think I'll leave it there, Chair. If anybody's got any questions, happy to pick up any of those.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think really useful to see the updates on these, to get more of a detailed update in November when we come back with some of the other projects that we've done. Has anyone got any questions or comments on this particular report that's with us now? I don't know if you want to come in, Damien.
Just to say, Chair, hopefully it does give a flavour. It's such a significant part of it. It cuts across a number of the teams within the council. And like I said, when we refocused the borough plan, the growth strategy and the revised focus growth strategy, which is a key plank. So, but you can see on that there's a lot of activity, a lot of significant projects, as well as smaller ones aimed at towns and villages, not just the larger settlements, but smaller settlements, housing delivery. It's on a number of fronts. So we're still as ambitious as ever. in the limited time we've got, trying to utilise every single day, week, month we have this authority still existing before it transfers to the new one.
Do we have any funding for the Tour de France to put any events on in the towns like Gloucester or Buxton? Or do we not have anything, do we know of?
The funding that MCA have is for the day. We had this conversation on an initial meeting this week. So I understand they have £2.4 million or thereabouts that's been secured, and that's not to cover anything to do with highways activity. So that is very much for the day. I understand the county separately have activity planned around the highways and any potholes and things like that that might need to be treated and dealt with in the meantime. So they're trying to plan that activity as well alongside that. But the 2.4 million that it's on the table. It's not necessarily fully secured. It requires a business case in order to access it, but that is underway. So my understanding is that as partners, as district and borough partners, we're also looking at whether there will be a requirement or how much, what the quantum of any other requirement might be to try and do to have some of that additional funding perhaps locally. So we are working on that and looking at whether or not we can secure any more funding, Chair. So we'll keep you posted.
And just for those that aren't aware, there was the Tour de France that briefly came through Derbyshire to a lesser extent in 2014, so 12 years ago. And then it was actually the council's Manor Park in Gloucester that was sort of set up as a fan zone. But there was a significant highway, so pretty much Gloucester was closed down. I think in hindsight, it was a bit overkill, but I think in terms of the sort of fan zone event, that went down very well. So that's just an example of something that's happened in the past, but there's probably quite a big world of difference in sort of public funding from 12 years ago. But obviously we'll do everything we can to make sure it's a success and there's as much benefit to High Peak resident, High Peak businesses as well. Really.
Yeah, I was just thinking if you're going to do like an event in Gloucester, I could potentially speak to some of the people that will get involved with other events that I do, see if they'd be willing to put something on maybe.
I think the key thing, Chair, is that because it comes through a lot of towns and villages in the High Peak, and it would be very difficult for people to move within the High Peak on that day. So we'd be reliant on people moving on foot to places generally if they're attending any event that happens. But also, so we need to kind of look at that in the round and make sure that we're not promoting anything until we understand what the implications might be, particularly because we need to engage businesses. So one of the examples being Saturday is the day that it comes through the High Peak, which tends to be the main day for like cottage changeovers. It will be, so if somebody's needing to get access to cottages to do a clean on that day and a changeover, that will be impossible. So we need to work with our accommodation providers to encourage them to change their allocation so they're not starting or ending any of their lettings on that Saturday. So that they're aware of that now, because actually some people may well be starting to book their holidays for next year. So some of that kind of major, is really important from now to start having those conversations so that that they're prepared and forewarned, because this is a great opportunity, but it needs to be carefully managed from that point of view. So the other thing that we'll need to be looking at is things like temporary campsites for farmers and things like that, who so that people who want to come for the weekend, we won't necessarily have an appropriate amount of accommodation. So often in situations like this, then we can permit or the farms have the potential to put in applications for temporary campsites and things along the route. So that would help kind of provide some additional accommodation, etc.
That's great, thank you. Has anyone else got any other comments that they'd like to make on this? There's a regular piece of work that we have anyway on the committee. So it'll be brought to the next meeting. So if anyone's got any questions between now and then, always email them to Lorraine or Damien, and then they'll get back to you. All right. So I'm going to move on to agenda item number 7 now. Do we have any questions referred to the committee? I'm
No,
assuming
Chair.
we don't. And then now we're going to close the public part of the meeting. So I'm going to exclude the press and public to resolve that the press and public are excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following item of business, as there may be disclosable of exempt information as defined in Part 1 of Schedule 12 of the Local Government Act 1972. So to move into Part 2, I just need someone to propose it for me. So I'll shout at once. Thanks, and I'll second it. And Rachel, could you let us know when the recording has ended?